Welcome to Catalyst, inspiring change one story at a time. Today we're diving into the journey of someone who is reshaping the landscape of wealth management in India, Rupa Venkatkrishnan. Picture this, a young woman starting her career at a petrol pump billing counter with little more than ambition and drive. Fast forward to today, Rupa is a powerhouse in the wealth management world with over 30 years of experience under her belt. She's not just a behavioral investment counselor, she's a pioneer, blending sound financial strategies with personal trust to build wealth, one client at a time. As director at Sapient Wealth, Rupa has spent decades helping clients, especially women, navigate the world of investments without needing deep pockets to begin with. Through her unique approach, she's built a thriving HNI client base and made financial literacy her mission, empowering investors across the spectrum. In today's conversation, Rupa will share how she's made her mark, the obstacles she's overcome, and how women are playing an increasingly vital role in transforming India's investment landscape. From her humble beginnings to shaping the financial futures of so many, this is a story you don't want to miss. So let's get started.
Welcome to our podcast series, Catalyst. In this series, we invite our mutual fund distributors who have created a great experience for the investor. Today, we are happy to have Rupa Venkat. She doesn't need introduction. She has been part of our industry for last more than 30 years. She has been inspirational to all of us. Today, we thought, let's hear her story, from Rupa herself, So Rupa, as we start our second podcast, we are privileged to have you. First thing that comes to my mind, while all of us are always in awe of your journey, what made you to come to this industry and how you landed in this industry?
First of all, thank you, Manish, for giving me this opportunity and inviting me. And it's been an honor. The question that you asked me, did I have this vision 30 years back that it's going to be so joyous and wonderful journey? I didn't have so much of vision, but I definitely knew at some point of time as I was growing, the only thing the realization that I had is money is very critical in everybody's life. It was there somewhere in my subconscious mind because as I grew up, as I was financially independent very early because my father said that fend for yourself when I was just before my graduation. My realization started with money then because you had to be financially well and manage yourself. That changed my relationship with money at a young age, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to do it. But that subconscious mind which was there, which later on evolved, and I think from very young age, I was finding avenues that how you could become financially well and how you could become better. So when I was growing up, I only realized saying that you have to earn well.
Right.
So to earn well, the first thing that you have to understand is from the basic background that I was, that if I have to earn well, I have to be absolutely excellent in what I do. So that realization happened that I have to be excelling in every part of life to be successful. So those are those critical aspects in my life which those realizations have evolved over a period of time. And I think I'm very thankful. I'm blessed that I got this journey as mutual fund distributor. When the mutual fund industry was evolving and as India was growing, I was there at the right place at the right time. And the only belief that I always have in life is I'm an optimist at any point of time. Because if you are not optimist, then this particular industry is always going through because you are at a place where economies will go through crisis, people around you will go through crisis, your own life will go through crisis. the investors that you are dealing with will go through crisis, and there's always bad news around, correct? So you have to be an optimist, and I am inherently an optimist. If you ask me why, I don't know, because that was the way I've been brought up. So I I look at things very positively, and that's the journey, and that's why I am what I am.
Good. I think we have started with such an amazing story, Rupa. Now, tell me when you exactly kind of started your first, say whatever, first interaction with customer, when it started and how it kind of evolved.
So, Manish, I have to bless again my client, who actually wanted me to start on my own, and she was the one uh, who pushed me, and she was a woman client, and she was the one who pushed me and said that I should start on my own. I don't know what she saw in me, what she saw, but I remember I had to argue with her, or I had an argument with her for almost around 5-6 hours. I was telling her I can't do it. It's not my cup of tea. And where will I get clients? Because I had to get a minimum amount of salary to run my house, which was what in my bag was there in back of my mind. But she was so much insistent saying that I need to start. And her only thing that I remember what she said was, we need good people like you who can help us and who are transparent, who are ethical, and we want people like you to work with. And this is your journey, and please start. And I think, Manish, that was my journey when I started. And she helped me with the first few investors, which means she just gave me the number and said, these are my friends. Your journey starts now. And I've never looked back. And it's a word of mouth business all my life.
So when did you realize you are on right track as a mutual fund distributor? How long you took to have that complete confidence that you are doing something great for your investors?
So when I understood mutual funds, okay, this was way back in the year 1999, that I knew completely, but my exposure to mutual fund was in the year 97, 98. So my first exposure was to a guild fund, which was Kotak had introduced the guild fund, and that was the first guild fund, and I was working in Times Guarantee then. And I had a boss who was managing treasury, and he taught us what is guild. And he said, as interest rates in India are coming down, and guild funds are the best, which are ideal. And I remember going and reading about it, and he gave some articles, reading about it, and that was my first exposure about
Mutual funds.
And then in Times Guarantee, when we invested, that was my learning about it. And then as I went to my next job profile, which was again with IL&FS InvestSmart, it was all about finance, money, stock markets, and mutual funds. And when I started diving into it, and I realized saying that this is one fantastic vehicle that can give huge opportunities to public at large for everyone to participate this vehicle to create wealth. And my belief in that particular product became so strong that my conviction started in front of clients when I used to talk about it. And my conviction to believe saying that particular product is absolutely amazing for the rich and the poor, to everybody to participate and create wealth, was the strongest that I could believe. And that's why I could sit with any client and convince saying that that's the best vehicle. And growth, I knew saying that this is one vehicle which will be the biggest growth engine for the industry over a long periods of time. What we have done in the last two decades is just very nascent. And I think we have a huge opportunity to grow this practice for the next, I think, hundreds of years.
So now when I look at last 30 years, the mutual fund distribution itself is evolving, You have a role of AI, role of technology, so many things are changing. Now, when I look at your journey, I see consistency of your thoughts, and I know you for last 15 years, every time I meet you, you have very, very clear goals. First, mutual fund is for long term. I remember very distinctly that you keep on, telling me all the times, I decide my clients, I choose my clients, Can you just give me some examples? Because that's really interesting for a lot of our mutual fund distributors who will be watching this. How someone like Rupa, while a lot of people think I don't have clients, I have to really struggle to get clients. And here we have Rupa. She decides whether I want to onboard someone or not,
So I think, as I said, mine was a word of mouth business. So most of my clients who referred also were the same temperament, the same friend circle. So, when you have friends, you are at the same temperament. You are not, you grow together.
Right.
You share a lot of things. You share your holidays together. You talk to each other. You help each other. So, temperament is always the same. And, you are all friends in the same financial circles,
Right.
right? So, that was one thing where I used to get referrals. But what I realize is investment is very simple, correct? I only learned that you have to be very simple and asset allocation, simple, long-term compounding. Somewhere down the line, that compounding machine was something which was ingrained into me, saying that compounding is the only vehicle which can create wealth. And, if you are investing in equity for a decade, most of the families will come out of poverty.
Wow. So powerful.
Most of the people will come out of poverty. If you have 10 years, 15 years of asset, at least 20% of your money invested in equities, you will come out of poverty. And sky's the limit for anyone to grow. So that belief kept me going, saying that how equity becomes a very powerful vehicle, and compounding became a very strong cornerstone of my
Believe.
investment philosophy. So what happened is, when I used to meet a lot of clients and people who said that they believe in timing the markets, they believed in saying that, how do you churn portfolios, coming out, booking profits. I came out. So I used to always tell them, saying that I won't be able to do these things because my temperament doesn't allow that. I don't have a DNA to invest in that short-term trading mentality. I don't have it within me. So I used to very openly say, I understand what you're doing is right. It might be right. I'm not the one who to judge, but I won't be able to do that for you. So I won't be able to justify what you expect from me. So at the end of it, it's expectation building. So if you have that expectation building, then saying that how you are onboarding your clients. Because I don't want to give false promises where I don't have the ability to do. So that is something that I realized, saying that I don't want to disappoint anyone, because everyone has positives and negatives. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. I know what my weaknesses are. So I play on my strengths.
So you had some filters to figure out whether this particular investor is suitable for you or not.
What happens is, you will know from the first two conversations itself, saying that the client is looking at long term. Does he believe in it? Does he trust in what you are saying? You will get a sense, Manish. So if you get a sense, then it is an open conversation that you also have to have with your clients.
Right.
Because at the end of it, you are taking his valuable money, his hard-earned money. So you have to be very clear about what you can bring on the table and what he can expect from you.
True. Now, one thing which comes to my mind when I look at Rupa, she's, like you said, optimist, Every time when I come and meet you, and I've seen you have no impact of market fall, whether market goes up, market goes down. You always have a long-term story that you always are very convinced about, When I meet a lot of MFD's partners, they spend a lot of time in terms of understanding market, trying to capture the market upside, downside, trying to book profits. What kind of message, Rupa, you want to give to our MFD partners? Because That's one thing that I think is very, very important that you can kind of share with all our partners.
So, Manish, see, there is no one rule in investing, correct? If you look at world over, there are so many investors, and each of them have created wealth, but each of their styles are different,
Right.
correct? There could be a person who would do momentum style and created wealth. There would be people who would have done in by trading because they have certain skills which they do on the market movements and all. And then you have people who buy and hold and stay long term. So, what happens is, even individually, all of us have certain qualities which we have to realize, correct? So, for me, what I do is I read, I understand the best minds in the whole world. Like, I would go and read what, um, like in India, I would read how Mr. Ramdev Agarwal's philosophy is, or Mr. Radhakrishnan Damani, or in the
You go out
case
of
of Ramesh
country.
Damani,
You go out of
or
country.
even Prashant Jain. And there are so many people who have certain philosophies, correct, over the year, because I grew with all of them. I grew with hearing all of them in the last 20-25 years. So each of them I observe and see that how have they shaped their journey, and what is that they have created wealth, and how do they consistently talk about their investment journey, because that's a lesson,
Right.
right? Now, when I go abroad, I see what Warren Buffett says about long-term investing, compounding, simple, what you should do, what you should not do,
Right.
correct? And over the years, I have heard Morgan Housel about investor behavior, correct? Then somewhere down the line, my mentor, I follow him in the last almost around now 8, 9, 10 years, is Mr. Nick Murray. And Nick has taught me about compounding, your belief, how do you construct your portfolio, asset allocation, human behavior, saying that what fear does to people's behavior, and as you are managing clients' money, what strengths you should have, what you can do and what you cannot do. And I think those are all shapes as you as a person. But if you look at me, when you say that when market gets volatile, why I don't get disturbed is basically because when I'm constructing that portfolio is constructed for 10, 15, 20, now 30, 40 years also sometimes, correct? When I'm constructing this portfolio for a client, I know that this portfolio will go through a cycle of 50% correction 3 times.
Right.
I know saying that 25% of correction will happen some 13, 14 times in the journey. And every year there would be 10, 15% correction. Okay? Because that is how the markets have evolved. And that's what has happened in the last, say, 45 years of Indian stock markets. Or if you see that last 25 years of the stock markets have been volatile. Correct? And when negativity comes in, when anything negative happens in the market, the news around is so bad you feel it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean that it's an end of the world. So those are all things that I observe, I learn, and then I evolve every time and say that optimum is the only realism. That's what Nick Murray says. Correct? Human evolution is always that we are always going to do better. I think from my childhood to what I am today, I only look at saying that my life has only become better. Things around me has become better, correct? So will that change? We are only going to get better. We'll have better minds, interesting people, interesting businesses. I think companies will do well. We are in interesting times. But yes, it is road is not going to be very smooth. It is going to be bumpy. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the world. So positivity comes because you're looking at something, and when you're constructing the client's portfolio, you know that bumpiness is going to come.
When I look at this, I think you have learned from people around you, both people in the country who have been, who have created wealth for themselves, for their investors, and then you have also traveled out of India to learn the behavior part.
Yeah.
And I think you practice it as a part of your mutual fund distribution. How difficult it is to implement it, while a lot of people say, well, it's easy to say and difficult to implement. I have seen you implementing it almost, all the times. How difficult it is?
Very difficult. Okay. It's not easy because what happens is you talk about your philosophy of not churning portfolios, staying invested for 25 years in a fund, in spite of the fund going under performance. Because the news around you is not
Always positive.
always positive, correct? There's always negativity on any performance of a scheme or a fund manager or things, right? So it's not easy to stand with your philosophy and say, no, this is right, because there's no support around you.
Right.
You're alone fighting that battle.
People are living in Insta world,
Yes.
and that's where you
So,
have to talk
correct.
next 30 years.
So it's very difficult. It's not been easy. I've had my challenges. I've had my fears. I've had my ups and downs, thinking at some point of time, questioning, am I doing right? Because when you're here, when your people around you are doing something different to what you believe, you always come back and think, saying that, am I doing right? Right? So there have been questions. But when you have those questions, you start thinking differently. You start searching for answers and saying that, whom should I go and talk to? Whom should I feel saying that, am I saying right? That's how Nick Murray happened. I would not have never gone to Nick Murray because I didn't find a question. So you search and say that, who is the one whom I should speak to? Who is the one I should follow? Correct? So that evolved me to think, saying that, in that inquisitiveness to see that what is right answer, I started finding people. So, we recently met Raj Sharma. He's in the US and he just came to India, and he manages some $7 billion. He's the 7th best in the world, in America. So when I heard him, I said, what are we doing? We're doing nothing. Correct? Imagine a guy who has 20 people around him and he's managing 7 billion. And we think, saying that the moment we reach 1,000, 2,000 crores, 500 crores, we start to wonder, saying that, oh, I've achieved my skies, I've achieved so much. And that helps me to push myself to be better.
Now, when I look at this, I'm really amazed, because you're saying when you practice it, you obviously had some challenge in your belief system, and to get convinced that you're on right track, you actually figured out and you went to meet someone like Nick Murray, and then you kind of even build your conviction even better in terms of believing that what you're doing is right. It's really inspirational, Rupa. I don't know how many people actually today think on that line, but I'm sure, I would love to at least get, a lot of our partners, if they get inspiration from what you have shared, Now, one thing, Rupa, I often get to hear from a lot of our MFD friends, that in order to build MFD business, you need a lot of people, you need very big offices, Can you tell me, because I know your story, Rupa, you have built this, for probably first 15, 20 years, 25 years here. I don't know exactly what you can share. You had no office. I remember you used to be in a car throughout the day. And then, you have managed so many clients. And can you just give me some understanding of this story that a lot of people don't know about?
So I think the first 15 years, my car is my office.
15 years.
15 years of my life, 15, 16 years, car was my office. I remember I started from home, and then I didn't even have a software for quite a number of years. I used to do Excel and send reports to our clients and everything. But that belief that you have to do right, that believe that if you're organized yourself, you can do everything on your own. Because if I don't know my job and my responsibilities, I can't have a team where I can guide that people, right? So that was my belief. Secondly, I think we believe saying that you need, for growing large, you need big team, big. But what is important is you need smart, focused, a team with clarity. Now that comes from entrepreneurship. If an entrepreneur is very clear about what his focus is, what he wants to do, and how he wants to do, and bring in excellence in what he wants to do, I think your focus will get you where you want. And like I admire a lot of people who are able to do everything possible. Like they set up equity trading, they also do insurance, they also do mutual fund distribution, and they do everything, and they've been very successful. And I admire those people. I think there is a skill to it. But I don't have that skill. I can share with you. I'm very focused. And I don't have that skill of doing that multitasking because I don't have that knowledge. I would rather be in a space where I'm knowledgeable, because knowledge, I want to be excellent in what I know, and I don't want to go somewhere and do something which is I don't have a knowledge and my clients suffer because of my incapability. So I would rather focus on what I am capable of. Plus, to grow, sky's the limit. Okay, you can have a small space and also be very successful. It is not, it's all in the mind. Most important thing in our practice as distributors is prospecting clients. Correct?
Right.
And if you have prospected clients, and I think everybody needs guidance. In today's world, everybody needs guidance. And so if you prospect your clients well and you are focused about what you want to do in his or her life, then you're able to be, once you onboard, you spend a lot of time and then you go to the next client. It's all about how you organize yourself, how you have a schedule, how you plan for yourself. And I think sky is the limit to grow. But one caveat is that all of us need to understand, saying that just like your wealth compounding of wealth takes time, your business also growth takes time. I don't believe saying that see, you can garner AUM, but that AUM has to sustain for the next 25, 30, 40 years. For that, that growth will be very small, very slow, but it will grow. So if you have a focused business for 15, 20 years, and then your wealth is growing, it will automatically grow over a period of 15, 20, 30, 40 years, because your AUM also will compound.
Right.
Your wealth also will compound, correct? In the same way as clients' growth, wealth grows, your practice also grows. So it is slow, it's not going to be fast, but it has to be patience. It's resilience that you need, patience that you need.
So that takes me to the next question. Now that 15 years you were working in car and you used to have everything, that was everything for you, and then you moved to an office. How many clients you manage? When I'm saying clients, families that you manage. And as you move to certain scale, do you think managing more investors becomes challenging for any distributor? And if yes, how do you kind of grow at certain level? Because that's one area wherein today I find a lot of MFDs, they have grown to certain levels, they have reached to certain clients, and then they are finding it difficult because the investors are completely dependent on, it's individual practice. So they trust you. So how to navigate that path,
So I was also like that for a long number of years, where clients I used to be taking care of them and they were only dealing with me. somewhere I realized saying that this was around 10 years back. I realized saying that life is uncertain and you have to have a succession. If something happens to me, how my clients should not be orphaned and they have to be taken care of. So that was a time when I was thinking, saying that I should work with someone or merge my practice with someone who can be a substitute if something happens to me. But before that, I did try getting people from my family to join me, or it didn't work. I tried, but it didn't work. It didn't work well. So that was the time I realized saying that I have to look at it professionally now. So that was the time where I knew Dhruv. We because we were working for FIFA and
Right.
everything. So we gelled. So first thing was transparency. Our mindset was same, long-term investing, compounding. I think he was technically very sound on research, his understanding, everything. I was good at marketing, speaking, presentations.
Complemented.
So we both complemented each other, and that was one thing that we said we will merge our practice, and that's how it all happened. So if you want to go to the next level, you need to find saying that ki how you can build your team. So now we are in the, so now if you actually ask, we are in the process of team building. So when you build your team, you also have to see that do they align with your philosophies? Do they align with the culture of the organization? How do we want to focus? How do you want to onboard clients? There are so many aspects to it. So if you have an aspiration and a desire, you can achieve everything possible. See, if there is a problem, there is a solution.
Right.
If there is no problem, there is no solution. So if there is any, when you're hitting something, you will find a way to come out of it, right? So it is not that you are stuck because you're not thinking. You don't want to push yourself to think and go to the next level to find a solution. So you have to give away. You have to give away the me, I. And then you have to come and say that it is we. It is us and we that we can bring in. So you have to move the I away from you if you really want to evolve and grow.
So when I look at one big, challenge and opportunity for our MFD partners, succession planning, because a lot of them now, they've spent 20 years in our industry. Now they are at a crossroad where they want to go to next level. What kind of advice you want to give to them while you have done, your own planning by coming together? What are the various ways that they can plan? Because that's very, very important, for our industry today. So many of them, they are just trying to figure out how to do it. If you can give some advice on that.
Will have their own beliefs, philosophy, to shape their, because when they are entrepreneurs, they've built their practice with their capabilities. So each one will have their own way of doing things, correct? So my thing to all of you, all of them would be saying that find that right approach. Think about it. Find that right approach, think about it, and speak to people. Find an option. Keep your mind open. Go and speak to people and how to see that how that decision of succession planning can be done. And as an entrepreneur, I would think saying that you should be thinking about this practice at eternity, because there are very few people on this earth who have the ability to guide human beings of being financially secured, of bringing financial prudence into their life. You have Indian population of 143 lakh people, but how many advisors or how many distributors are there to cater to that population?
Yeah.
Now, we are very few chosen ones by God who are there. Don't give away this profession just like that. Continue it because you have been experienced for the last 2 decades into this practice. And this practice is all about experience. This practice is all about your belief. This practice is all about how to handle your clients. And you have got that experience. Don't give it away. We are very few selected by God who are in this profession to give that financial security, because every human being on this earth needs that financial security and financial prudence. So find your path, find your way, and there is, if you actually seek, you will get it. How to sort that out.
Interesting. Next thing that comes to my mind, today MFDs, they think they are facing a lot of challenge because there are so many platforms, online platforms that have given access to a lot of investors to be part of industry. Now, what do you think role of MFD? Whether it will evolve, whether it's changing, whether it will change completely, and if yes, how? Because I remember very distinctly, a few years back when I met you and you told me we're having lunch and you told me that I have to go to Andheri to meet a client. So I told you, Rupa, आप क्यों जा रहे हो? I'll send my office boy, he'll collect the application. And you said it's very small amount. So I said, I can get it for you. Why you want to go? And that time you had your car as your office. You said, no, I want to go because I want to go and meet the customer and I want to decide whether he or she should give 5,000 or she should not invest, or he or she should give you 10 lakhs. Now, one side we're talking about technology, fintech disrupting this. Other side, I'm seeing the kind of practice that you follow, which is so powerful, wherein you go and create value for investors. Now, tell me, are the concern that a lot of MFDs have, is this fear true? Is this valid? Or you think opportunity is very large for them to grow?
So Manish, money is emotion. If a person who has very less money, a poor guy or a rich guy, anyone, money is emotions.
Right.
Okay. Technology is an enabler. It enables you to efficiently process that thing. But that interaction for the client to give that comfort, that you have to do the investments, you will have to go through that volatility. You will you have to have long-term vision of creating wealth, is something that the client has to get that from you, because that conviction and confidence only comes when you sit across and when it communicated to the person. Correct? The first initial few meetings has to be physical, because money is emotions होता है ना. तो जब आप बोलते हो कि I'm going to take care of your money and you have to invest, the first thing is fear. That what if I lose? Correct? There is also a fear saying that, are you actually saying what you're saying is right? Why? Because people have not experienced. Because experience will give you conviction and confidence. And if you look at why people have conviction and confidence in gold and real estate, because वो physically दिखता है, वो टच कर सकते हैं, उसका भाव ऊपर नीचे होता है, तो they are not, क्योंकि they can feel it.
They can feel it, right?
Correct? But when you talk about investments, you can't feel it. It's there in your sheet, it's there on your Excel, or it's there on your phone, but you can't feel it. Right? So to believe that, saying that my wealth is very important, you need someone to come and talk about it. You need someone to come and say day in and day out to give that conviction, saying that what you're doing is in the right direction. It takes time for people to get there. Why? Because it's your experience, right? Have your parents or have your grandparents done it to give you comfort that this is right? That is what human behavior is all about. That's why behavior makes a lot of difference. So, human behavior is so critical to understand, saying that you need to say the same and same thing again for that person to believe that what you're doing is right. That physical interaction in the first few meetings, say for example, it could be 1 year, I would meet 6, 7, 10 times. That is very critical for a relationship building. And you have to be there for the client when they need us. So that it doesn't matter if it's a 500 rupee check or a lakh of rupee check or a 10 lakh or 1 crore check. It's money. And that meeting is so critical. So I'm saying everything will evolve. There are different, you could have fintech platforms. Somebody is very comfortable with fintech platform for the reason because he's an evolved investor. He's an investor who's knowledgeable. So he might take that fintech route. But there are certain people who need a lot of hand holding. There are people who will need, where we have to go and nudge them to save. Correct? You have different things which will evolve. And you have only 5% penetration of investors in this country. 95% of your population is not even investing prudently. Their assets are growing below, alpha, beta की बात करते, their portfolio is growing below beta returns. So you have so many, so everything will evolve. Sky is the limit to grow. There is no one specific formula for success in investment. Everything will evolve because clients are different, their experiences are different, their capabilities are different.
One interesting story that I find in your practice, one side you do share that I decide my investors, whom I want to onboard, whom I want to deal with. You don't want them to redeem money if they want at times because of market condition, which means you want them to stay long, stay invested, stay on course. And you have done it very successfully. I've seen a lot of investors who have been part of your journey, and I've seen so many such investors. On the other side, I also see you make a lot of investors to start availing luxury. You want them to, let's say, travel in business class. Why do travel in economy class? Because they have made a lot of money. Now, how MFDs can learn from this interesting story, because you're trying to do something which is very unique. Not many people today do it in their practice. How do you think this helps you to kind of grow your business?
So, if you look at, again, I'll go back to human behavior, correct? And I put myself into the position first. I look at in and around my families, how they behave, correct, when it comes to money. So most of the time what happens is people don't plan, correct? They don't segregate their short-term, long-term needs. They put everything into one basket. And then that financial cash flow chokes you when you do things which is, when you go and blow, like for example, most of the clients go and buy a property and their EMIs are almost 60-70% of their income. And that chokes your cash flow. So that what happens is you start feeling saying that I'm sacrificing a lot of my life by not enjoying, by not traveling, by not going out. And there would be some who would not save, would splurge everything away. So this human behavior, what I realized is saying that I started talking to people over the years and I evolved and said that, okay, only give me that much money which you can give for 25 years. Out of your 10 rupees, out of your 100 rupees, give me 10 rupees or 20 rupees. But this will be for 25 years.
From day one, you said
from day one. Day one. Because that is discipline. Because investment is all about discipline, focus, and how do you bring in that behavior into an investor's life cycle. everything is about behavior, right? How do you get up? How do you go to office? How do you read? It's all about habits. So in the same way, this becomes a habit. Investment also is a habit and a discipline. So I bring in the discipline and say that this is how you look at things. And then they will come out and say, what do I do at 80? So then I bring them and say, okay, right. You want to travel, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a music system, you want to buy phones. Put all of your aspirations. Once you put all of those aspirations, then your short-term, long-term, medium-term goals can be aligned with the respective kind of investment
True.
instruments so that you don't palpitate when the market goes up and down. You are already enjoying your needs. That's one. Now, for investors who have already invested over the last 15, 20 years, and their wealth has grown much more beyond their expectations, and they still don't travel and enjoy that wealth, like traveling in a business class. Why struggle and at least have that comfort? See, most of the people associate business class to be status. It's not status. It's about bringing your comfort, right? How comfortable it is to go and lie down and sleep and travel. Secondly, you buy the best cars. Why do you want to compromise on that? Buy your best homes, which is your dream home. So most of the time when money comes in, that again, emotions plays. Ke ban to gaya, but how do you enjoy that money?
Yes.
Correct? So it works both ways. And as I said, I meet my clients and I have these conversations about life, about how do you be practical about it, not get emotionally attached to it. So these are all aspects which I evolved and learned when my conversation with my clients go beyond investment after some time. And that has helped me to make my clients look at life differently. And so it's about how do you allocate, how do you sit with the client and not choke their cash flows, make them feel comfortable. Because the moment the clients don't have money to do something, they will redeem money at the wrong time, not invest at the wrong time. That experience is so bad that they will never come back again.
Right. Interesting. So I think what you're trying to say, behavior plays very important role when you're trying to manage the investors' expectations. And I think you have done it very rightly in terms of creating balance on either side.
Yeah.
If you have less, you ensure that was up come dalo, long term dalo.
Yeah.
But if you have a lot of money, you ensure that they do enjoy the money.
Yeah, balance out and
Very
enjoy the
true.
money.
It's very, very interesting perspective. Because a lot of times, as a mutual fund distributor, typically we are here to create wealth. So we don't look at the other part of which is like giving better experience, making them really realize the true potential of wealth. Rupa, one thing which I see in this industry, while industry has been growing, we have so many investors, so many distributors, and they all have been growing very fast. The role of women distributor, I think when I look at the industry number, it's not very encouraging. While it's decent, I would not say it's bad. What are the challenges that you face as a women mutual fund distributor? And what kind of advice you want to give to a lot of people out there who are either doing it well, but if they have to grow, they have to do things better?
See, challenge is all in the mind. Okay. This discrimination of women and men is something which I find very weird, because I was brought up in a family where the distinguish was not there, that you are a woman or you are a man. And in my family, when I was growing up, my grandmoms or my aunts and uncles, I think everybody was working. Women were working, men were working. So that environment was very different, saying that that is what I have grown up with. And when I came into financial market, in the financial sector, okay, obviously there were less women, because money is always related to men and not to women. It never bothered me so much. But I had my own challenges, because imagine saying that the whole society, the men manage money, and when I'm sitting in front of the clients and saying that I'm going to manage money, it's not accepted so well. They look at you, they test you, they test you to the level saying that, are you knowledgeable? Are you knowing your facts? Do you know what's happening around? Are you capable to manage the wealth? So it's about people don't have trust, correct? So you have to prove yourself. So what happened is, every time I found saying that somebody didn't trust me, I went to the next level to improve myself. So for me, that challenge was saying that I can do it. How can I not do it? So I pushed myself every time to be knowledgeable, to be more professional, be perfectionist, and that evolved me. So competition was never a concern for me. Second, as you said, a lot of women are not coming. I think there is a sea change, but I want women to say that this particular mutual fund distribution or financial advisory or whatever that you want to call is so important, saying that every woman can do it, because what this needs is empathy.
True.
And women have that innate, innate quality within them to have that empathy. And that is something that can bring in a lot of change into your relationship with your clients and with money. So I would tell women saying that, don't think that this practice is not right for you. It is absolutely a wonderful practice, and women can handle this practice much better. And as you rightly said on succession, I wanted to say that every distributor should feel that they should get their wife as a succession planning option. She should be the first one to be the successor of her business, and then her
And
their
also,
children.
if I remember correctly, you do share with me all the times that you do involve the wife
Yes.
as a part of decision making.
Yeah.
That's very, very important part of your discussion with your clients.
Yeah.
Can you share some light on that?
So again, Manish, I observe people in my house and my family. I observe with my friends and all, where a lot of women don't even know where their husbands are investing or their fathers have invested, and the challenges they face is most. So we've got 50% of our clients as women, and all of them have come to us when they became widowed, or they would be going through a divorce, or if it's a single woman, if she has lost her parents, he or she has lost her parents, they come to us and say, "Oh, they're very low in their life because of what has happened to them, emotionally very low, insecure, very fearful. What they don't even know how where the money is, and that taught me, saying that it's so critical that when I am talking to a man about investment, I should involve the woman, because I don't want any woman to go through that in their life, saying that they don't know when certain calamities strike them. And that is not the right time to get into and manage money. It's always better to manage money in good times so that you can take care of your bad times. And as women live 5 years longer than men, which is what the statistics say, women need to understand where the wealth lies for the family, where, how, and she has to have the capability to manage. So that lessons have taught me, saying that I have to involve the woman of the house to be a part of the discussion when money is spoken about.
So you touched a very interesting topic, that you involve women as a part of decision making when it comes to investing, finance. Can you share one story which really touched your heart, which, without naming the investor, if you can narrate a story that can really help all of us to understand how important this can be as a part of our own practice that we do as a mutual fund distributor?
The one incident that actually touched me and made me so vulnerable was during COVID. I had a very young client and I met him around 12 years ago. And he started investing a small amount of SIP that he started investing. And after that, during my conversations with him, he had bought a house and his mother was a joint holder. And so I kept on telling him, saying that you should make a will, you should make a will. So we had a discussion and he said, Rupa, what do I have to make a will? So I said, you have a property, you have your investments, and you are saving money, and that is the place that you're working, like you have PPF and gratuities and all. So there is enough money and wealth, so you should make a will. So he used to always say that, okay, I'll make a will, and today, tomorrow, I'm busy and all. So that kept on happening for quite some time. And COVID happened. So just after the first wave of COVID, which is in 2020, 2021, he called me and said, he says, Rupa, this EMI is really stressing me. And, the job EMI is stressing me, saying that, I have to pay this installment every month. So why don't we do one thing? We have accumulated a lot of money. Why don't we at least take out 60-70% and repay my loan? I'll be free, and whatever money that I was paying EMI, I can start an SIP and it will not stress me. So I said, if that is it's stressing you more, so let's do it. So we did that, and he repaid the loan, got his papers, and the next month he was supposed to do his SIP. So we sent him the paper, and the day the paper landed at his place, he called me up and said, I'm feeling unwell. I'm getting into the hospital because he was tested positive. And he said, once I come back, I'll send you everything. So I said, okay. He went to the hospital and he never returned back. And he had 2 little children. His wife was just, she was in the late 20s. He had a 5-year and a 2-year-old baby. And no will. And in Indian constitution, it seems saying that if a husband doesn't have a will and the mother is alive, half the asset goes to the mother and half the assets go to the wife. So in her case, everything that was, even the insurance money from the company, the PPF gratuity, everything that came out was 50% to the mother and 50% to her. And the house, because the mother was a joint holder, went to the mother. And the mother was a little more stronger and overpowering. And this girl got only half of the assets that he had, which was not enough to take care of the 2 children, and she was a housewife. And for whatever reason, the mother-in-law kicked the daughter-in-law out of the house. And that girl came to me to the office and she asked me only one question, and she said, दीदी मैंने क्या गलती की कि मुझे ये भुगतना पड़ रहा है, or how will I bring up my 2 children? And Manish, that day, I had tears in my eyes and I had no answer to her. She sat there and asked me a question for which I didn't have an answer. And that was my turning point. And I said, I don't want to listen from any woman this question again, that why am I going through here? And today, I insist everyone first. Before I manage the wealth and before they come and say that I want to invest, the first thing I ask is, have you made a will? And if you have not made the will, this investment doesn't make any sense. So I've changed the way that I am doing, and that was my turning point, and it left a very impactful
Mark on your.
mark on my the way I looked at it, and I wish I was not very casual. Then she would not have faced what she had to.
I think if not this, probably nothing else can teach us. I think it's really something that all of us need to at least learn from this podcast.
Yeah.
That if we are in the business of meeting our investors,
Yeah.
trying to help them, all of us need to ensure that we do take care of their family. We do involve their families. Now we come to the last question of the evening in Arupa. When we look at the mutual fund distribution, you have spent 30 years, and I remember every time I talk to you, say I have another 30 years to work for. When I meet a lot of MFDs, they have very dark view about industry. They get really worried. Tell us or share one thing which can really inspire MFD, and they should have faith in this industry. While we have crossed, let's say 5% in terms of number of investors in our industry, we have a long way to go. So one mantra, one advice that you want to give to our mutual fund distributors.
Manish, this business or this practice is going to be there for centuries and centuries. Because every human being needs guidance to create wealth. If it was so easy, then there would be multi-millionaires in this country and around the world, which is not the case.
Right.
Correct? Everybody earns money, but not everybody is prudent enough to save and create wealth for himself. See, there is a difference between making money and creating wealth. पैसा बनाना और संपत्ति बनाना दो चीज है. बट संपत्ति बहुत कम लोग बनाते हैं, पैसे सब बनाते हैं.
Right.
लेकिन in today's time, wealth creation is very important because the cost of living, the way that we are living is very expensive. Correct? Today, if you see, food is not very expensive. Food inflation is very not expensive. But education is very expensive.
Health is expensive.
Medical is very expensive. Travel is very expensive. Correct? So those are all the things which have become very expensive, and not that food is expensive. So we came out from a place where food was expensive and these were not. But today times are changing. So it's so important saying that people have to invest prudently to see that how these basic things are taken care of. You need money for medical, in case there is some crisis under medical contingency, you need money. Second is education. You're going to have children, and children need good education. It's going to be expensive. You, as human beings, you're aspirational. You want to travel. So for all of this, people need guidance to invest. So we have huge potential to see that how your practice can grow. And even if you add 0.01% of this population to your portfolio, and to make them your clients, I think you can do wonders. You can do wonders. I think one example which I said, Raj Sharma is one example. $7 billion is what he manages.
It's still growing.
And still growing. Can't we do it? Of course we will be able to do that. Is there a potential? Of course there is a potential. You have huge potential to become 5x and 10x in the next 2 decades. It's all about how do you think. As I said, I am an optimist. And I look at opportunities and see that there is huge potential for us to grow. And as I said earlier, we are very few who are there in this practice. We are blessed to be here to give and help people to bring in that financial prudence and financial securities in their life. And so if you look at that, you are very few and blessed. God has given us this opportunity. You should take this opportunity, and everyone can thrive. That is the only thing which I said. Saying that, see, again, it's all about negativity. In and around, everybody feels saying that this practice is not going to sustain. But you have to have the belief that I'm the best and I will succeed. What is that? You are the best. You are the one who are guiding people.
Right.
And you know you're knowledgeable. You are only going to do better. So you have to believe in yourself, saying that you're going to be the best and the sky is the limit where you can grow.
I think
I wish I was 20 years younger so that I have more time, but I still have 30 years to do what I have to do.
your optimism, your belief is something that I think all of us should get inspiration from. I think we couldn't have ended this on a better note than this, that the kind of opportunity that you see for our channel partners, MFDs, it's still humongous,
Yeah.
And all of us need to have faith. And while Rupa wants to become younger so that she can manage, investors for next 40, 60 years, a lot of you who are young, who are now trying to be part of industry, for you, there is sky is the limit, So have faith. And if all of you can learn something from what we have shared in last 1 hour, I'm sure, will create a lot of impact in our society and for the industry. Thank you, Rupa. Thank you for sharing your such a great insights. I'm sure it will help all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank-
very much,
thank you.
Manish. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.